Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show, the madhouse for film freaks and film fans of all types. I'm your host, Brian Coddington, joined by my fellow co-host and filmmaker, John Woolscroft.
All right, here's my take 2 on making fun of Harrison Ford's acting abilities. You're not Steve Rogers. Yeah, well, you're not William Hurt. How's it land the second time?
It lands pretty good. It lands pretty good. I love the fact that no one who watches the replay will know that I fucked up. 347 episodes in, and yes, you too can forget to hit record.
Well,
this is why we need a man in the chair. That we need a man in the chair or a woman in the chair.
See, thank God we weren't 75 minutes deep.
Well, I literally, I kid you not, John, I looked down and I was like, oh, wow, I didn't hit record on the local recording. So, yeah, that was my bad. But, yeah, take 2 or 3, you never know. You won't know on this. And this week we are, of course, talking about a movie that people were talking about maybe about 2 weeks ago. It feels like longer. But that is, of course, we're talking about Captain America. Brave New World. I almost said Civil War there, but I'm like, nah, they're all kind of blending together. But this one is one that, I think a lot of people are giving it a really unfair critique. I'm curious, John, kind of over the course of this episode here, whether we're going to disprove that or if we are going to prove that. But yeah, this movie, it hits kind of on the common Marvel tropes that we've seen as of late, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's all these movies are kind of just paint by the numbers. I did appreciate that the movie took itself a little more seriously than what we've been getting, with like Thor, Love and Thunder, and
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah. But I will say this about the movie. While I do not think that the reviews from critics and fans alike are fair, it is far from a good movie. It's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's, what it's like. I look at it this way. It's like, how okay, I'll use this analogy. Okay. And I think people might get this. Okay. So John and I, we live in the city. Well, I live in the city. John, you're city adjacent.
Yeah, I'm a little north. Yeah.
You're a little north. But for the most part, like, if you want good pizza, you're like a hop, skip, and a jump away from it. It's not too far away from you, right? Yeah. So I like to look at the current crop of Marvel films as kind of like getting Domino's or Pizza Hut pizza, right? It's serviceable. It's good. It's not the best. You're not going to write home and say, this is the best Domino's pizza that I've ever had, or this is the best pizza I've ever had. It's okay. Okay. It's serviceable for a Friday night. It will do. Okay. But it's nowhere near the level of getting like authentic New York or just like, like your local pizzeria style pizza. That pizza will always trump the Pizza Hut and Domino's pizza. Every single time. Why is that? Because a lot of love and attention to detail went into that, that indie pizzeria joint. Okay. Whereas I have a feeling current crop of Marvel films are kind of feeling way more mechanized and just kind of paint by numbers. That's a little bit how I kind of take it. I'm like, this is kind of like just getting okay pizza.
And this is when they should really be.
Now everybody's hungry.
Yeah. Yeah. This is when they should be taking chances. Like I know that it's not Steve Rogers anymore, but the Captain America character is one of their tent poles. And it just doesn't seem like they brought anything. And if we're looking into the future, the Expendables is going to eat shit. Nobody's going to want to go.
You mean the Thunderbolts?
I'm sorry. Yeah, Expendables. That's the Sly Stallone movie. The Thunderbolts is going to eat shit and die. Nobody's going to care about that movie. There's nobody in it that anybody wants to see. The trailers look terrible. I think that they are hedging all of their bets and their future on the Fantastic Four movie being a big hit.
Yeah, because it's not like the Fantastic Four has, struck out every single time that it's gone to bat. Just saying, history has not been kind to the Fantastic Four just about every time.
I think the Fantastic
Like
Four,
every single time.
like, I know we're here to talk about Captain America, but like Fantastic Four is just, it's outdated. It started in the early 60s. It just isn't contemporary.
And I just like even going back to like what was it, the Tim Story 2004 one. Um, even that one was not very good. And that was before the MCU, before all this shit. That was still when you had Avi Arad, who was running Marvel and doing all that stuff. It's just not very good, and it's never really been good. And I think people sometimes think like, oh, well, it's not like that really bad, Fantastic Four movie that came out where the director himself was like, yeah, I fucking hate this movie. It's not like that. It's like as you said, John, the concept I don't think is interesting, and I always thought like the Fantastic Four would be a really good like side character in a much larger movie. Like I thought when you had Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness and you had Reed Richards show up, like that for me made more sense and made more sense of where, the Fantastic Four could be at. But to bake a whole movie around them, yeah, I don't see it working.
Hasn't worked yet, but
no, it hasn't. That's what I'm saying. History has not been kind to the Fantastic Four in cinema. It's almost like I'm thinking it has a curse at this point.
Well, I mean, Roger Corman made a fake one.
That's what I'm saying. That maybe that's the curse.
Yeah.
But I mean, I saw this movie and I don't know. Maybe for me, I was definitely into it. I was not necessarily looking, at my phone or like bored by it, like I have been with other Marvel films, but it wasn't anything that I'd write home about. And it honestly kind of felt to me like a caricature of a Captain America movie. Like it had all the tropes associated with a Captain America film, like political intrigue and, a guy in a red, white, and blue like costume and all of those things, but just didn't feel like it was landing any point.
It felt like they were trying to grab that Winter Soldier magic.
You can't grab that Winter Soldier magic. You can't grab the Winter Soldier magic. You can't grab the Civil War magic. You sure as hell can't grab the First Avenger magic. So like that, I mean, I felt just kind of basic thoughts coming out of the theater that this movie was trying to play like a Captain America film, but was failing. And I also felt that this movie, by and large, was trying to do a lot in very little time. What do I mean by that? Well, I actually wrote this down, which John knows me. I don't really write shit down for these reviews. I really don't. John will come in with notes. I won't. So here's what I wrote down. I wrote down that this movie is pretty much a sequel to the Avengers, the Eternals, Falcon the Winter Soldier, Civil War, and the Incredible Hulk in one.
Thank you for saying that, because I thought to myself, the title of this movie should be The Incredible Hulk: Brave New World. This should be Hulk's story. And I know that like in the canon of these movies now, he's like Banner Hulk.
But yeah, he's the smart Hulk now. He's not Hulk smashing anymore, like at all.
But you can retcon that. He's just like, oh, if I get mad enough, I can turn into regular Hulk.
Well, why can't smart Hulk like have a bad day? Like
yeah.
Like he can't have a bad day. He can't roll out of bed and be like, I stubbed my toe on something, or just Hulk can have a bad day too, right? Like he's allowed to, right?
Oh, it's like, yeah, if I get my sock wet this time of year, with all the snow.
Oh, dude, that's the worst.
Yeah.
That's the worst. You get your sock wet and you're just like, the whole day is fucking ruined because that shoe that shoe has to come off for it to dry. So like wherever you're at, you're like, I guess I'm walking around squishing the whole time. But I get that this movie, it feels like why is Captain America in this? Because it clearly is a Hulk movie.
it's a villain from the first film. It's a side character who's been
Yeah.
made into the president from the Incredible Hulk. So we have a villain and a side villain from the Incredible Hulk film. So why they felt they needed to cover up loose ends from a movie 16 years old now, I get better late than never, I guess. But yeah, and it would have been kind of neat, even though it kind of would have probably looked like Super Mario Brothers, like before they had Luigi. Like if you played the second character, they just changed the color sprite to green, and eventually they gave him the name Luigi. But like it would have looked like Mario and Luigi, just two Hulks beating the hell out of each other. But that's what these movies do. It's you have the main character who has a power, and then the villain has like the bad version of the power, and they just smash into each other.
John, that almost would have seemed like it was again the Incredible Hulk movie. I was like, isn't that basically what the Incredible Hulk movie was? This bad character's got the same powers as the hero. What could happen? Well, Harlem gets destroyed. So that's what happened. But yeah, this movie, if you haven't seen it yet, I mean, I don't think we're gonna necessarily care too much about spoilers. But it basically picks up pretty much, I'd say, shortly after the events of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So in this, Sam Wilson is now kind of donned the costume and moniker of Captain America, which I'll be honest with you, I actually liked Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Not a lot of people did. I liked it. But I also understand that some people were like just not into it. Did you watch it?
Yes, I thought that the villains who like the story decided weren't villains were weak, and I thought it was strange that we should be rooting for terrorists, because like you don't have to try to make somebody likable to understand where they're coming from. Like abstractly, I understood where Thanos is coming from. That still doesn't excuse him genociding half of the planet, but I understand what he's trying to say. So these people who came back from the blip. Or no, they were the ones that never left the blip, right? I'm trying to remember this show.
They were the ones that they did not leave from the blip. So they were basically more or less like refugees. They were staying in places which were people's homes and offices and things like that. And then boom, all the people that were living there come back and suddenly they want their shit back. So like that's the whole impetus with that. And like here's the thing I want to mention. I like the fact that Captain America, well, not Captain America Winter Soldier, but Falcon Winter Soldier was a bit more gray in who the villains actually were.
But they were violent terrorists.
They were violent terrorists, but I also look at it from the standpoint of every man's terrorist is technically a freedom fighter at certain points too. And that's there is a gray area at times. And I honestly believe that some of the best villains out there are shades of gray. So like, while I don't think execution on that series was as good as it should have been, I like the fact that they were not just giving me a laser in the fucking sky.
Right. But I will say that what really upset me outside of that with that show was the "you have to do better" senator speech. I'm like,
oh, that was bullshit.
I'm like, this show has no balls. It has no intelligence. Like Disney will never write something impactful. Like that was the cheapest corporate like speech possible. Like I could imagine that was like the 45th rewrite from executives to make sure they weren't offending any sponsors.
Oh, well, here's the best part, John. That whole speech basically is made moot once the movie starts. Like what happened to all of that shit, Cap? Like what happened to all of that stuff of you got to do better? Because clearly the world has not changed. The world is still shit. And we just kind of ignored like all of that stuff. Like that's where this movie picks up.
I think that's really, a lot of people say like, oh, nothing could stand up to Endgame and a lot of the bigger stars left. But I think not handling the blip and everybody coming back, not handling that with like more maturity and intelligence and just kind of glossing over it. That to me is where they made their biggest mistake, because this movie could have, I know what it's been like 5 years since the first movie post blip, but like it could have been dealing with the repercussions of that, just like Falcon and Winter Soldier could have if they had anybody remotely intelligent writing that. But they dropped the ball on that, where it could have been something incredible. But I just remember going to see Spider-Man Far From Home, and the one kid like doing the announcement going, my younger brother is older than me now, and I'm like, oh, we're just supposed to laugh, like this is the biggest catastrophe on two ends the world has ever seen. First, half the people disappearing. How the world didn't plummet into chaos and madness then is unknown. But then to go the other way, where all those people come back, like this is the biggest catastrophe the world has ever seen. But they laugh it off because it's like, these movies aren't thoughtful. They're just stupid. Just laugh at the stupid movie and fart your popcorn farts in your seat, you fuck.
Do you want to know why I think that they did not take the blip seriously? You want to know my thoughts on it?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's my thoughts. I think that to require the intelligence to handle the blip and the repercussions of the blip in a mature way, you have to be coming from an idea that the people watching these movies are worthy of respect. And I honestly think that Marvel and the MCU, I don't think that they give two shits about the audience. No, I really don't. I don't think they care.
Well, do you think, like, is this Disney's biggest cash cow, or is it Star Wars? Like, which one?
Right now?
Yeah.
Right now, it's this. Right now, the MCU is. Star Wars, not so much.
Yeah, go buy Captain America action figures and lunch boxes.
Well, just not just Captain America, but just like the Marvel shit in general. Yeah. I think even though people have superhero fatigue, I really still believe that the thought process is that you're going to get more money out of Marvel than you are going to be of Star Wars, because they've completely fucked over Star Wars, with the exception of The Mandalorian, maybe Andor. Like that's about it. Like those two properties, Baby Yoda, and as you say, John, a terrorist. Yeah. What saves Star Wars? Baby Yoda and a terrorist.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think that Marvel gives two shits about the audience, and where maybe they started from a place of, we want to make mature stories for an audience that we respect, they clearly don't anymore. Like, I imagine if they had made the blip similar to like the end of Watchmen.
Yeah.
You know, like the Watchmen series that was on HBO years ago, how that handles the catastrophe of the comic. Like, imagine if they handled it similar to that, where socioeconomic systems are completely upended because of this one event. And they've never really dealt with that.
You know, you say anymore, but as much as I enjoy these films, I don't think that they ever took the audience seriously or cared. Like, to go to that quote that Martin Scorsese said, I think people need to understand that when Martin Scorsese says these movies aren't cinema, I agree with him, but in the sense that not every film is cinema. There are different types of movies, and these are, throwaway, fun, punch 'em up movies. But I don't know how everybody's kind of caught on to that now, when it's really kind of been that way from the beginning. I mean, there have been some standout films because there have been some filmmakers that wanted to try to elevate this, but Thor, like, say Thor Ragnarok is,
you really hate Thor Ragnarok.
It's a throwaway movie full of like stupid jokes and nothing of importance or value. It's like, what's changed? What is different now? I saw this movie as, this is just another Marvel movie. I ate it, but then I shit it out and I moved on.
This was, as I go back to my original point, this was Domino's Pizza. So,
however, I want to
go ahead, John.
I want to contradict myself a little bit.
Okay, contradict away.
When you look at what Tim Burton was trying to do with Batman, and so let's go to DC for a second. I think he and Michael Huslin and the Gruber and all them, involved with this project, were trying to elevate Batman and make it a great dark and gritty superhero story. But I got offended by Batman Forever because I'm like, they're not taking this seriously. This is just goofy and silly and campy, where I feel that I'm trying to have my cake and eat it too there, because Batman's my favorite superhero. I'm sure there were plenty of people who goes, who cares? It's a Batman movie. It was fun and I ate it and I'm going to shit it out. So I guess I'm kind of contradictory in that sense.
I think part of it, though, John, is that when we look at, say, Batman Forever and we look at some of the Marvel films, the source material is taken seriously. Now, again, I'm contradicting myself because if you watched or listened to our last week's episode where we talked about movies versus books and which ones are better or not, I said that I'm open to people kind of making their own interpretations about, source material and turn to something else. But the thing is that I really believe that even if you turn something into something else, you still have to kind of tip your hat or pay homage or just kind of treat the stuff with respect. And Batman is a darker character. Iron Man has elements of darkness to him as well. And maybe the problem isn't so much that it's being reconfigured, but it's that there's no respect given to these characters as a whole. Like, it's kind of the same thing that we saw when the Zack Snyder Superman first came out. People were like, why the fuck did you make Superman a dark and brooding character? That's nothing at all like who this character has always been. So I think that's part of it is that when you treat these characters from comic books with respect, you get respectful stories, even when you change things around. And I think that's something that, Tim Burton did with the first two Batman movies. Not so much with Joe Schumacher and Batman Forever. Although, John, you and I are kind of in the minority now because that movie has kind of gotten a resurgence as of late, which I still don't get. By the way, I love how we have not yet really talked about Captain America: Brave New World. We're talking about other things.
We're talking, I think it's very abstractly about the filmmaking process.
We're using our big film brains, kind of like the big brain of the leader in this movie, or lack of a big brain. Oh shit! Okay, well,
Megamind.
I was wondering if you were going to say Megamind or Pinky in the Brain or some shit like that. But so just to kind of give kind of an idea of what the plot of this, again, it picks up right after Falcon and Winter Soldier. And the big crux of this, the big thing that this movie kind of deals with is who controls the giant frozen eternal or celestial, excuse me, in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, because we need to mine that shit.
Yeah, as I mentioned when we talked about other Marvel projects on this channel, I have not seen the Eternals.
You're not missing out, John. You don't need to see the Eternals.
But that's one of those things about these movies that they're like drugs. Like you can't miss a hit or you're gonna get the shakes. Like, and that's what happened to me. I'm like, I think that's from the Eternals, but I don't know what the fuck that is.
So like you're watching it and you're just like, why the fuck is there a giant stone man in the middle of the Pacific Ocean?
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm sitting there, I'm going like, oh, well, yes, I've seen this. I knew about this from that god-awful Eternals movie that I had to sit through that my daughter still to this day said, Daddy, that was a really bad movie. That was really boring. She still to this day is like, that was like the first movie I took her to, and she passed out in it, but like she still to this day is like, Daddy, that Eternals movie was really bad. I know it was very bad to see, but yeah, the apparently the Earth is a giant egg, and inside of the egg is a giant celestial that one of the Eternals seriously froze, but he's apparently full of adamantium.
That's yeah. Okay. I think we're getting another boner from WandaVision here. I
How
think.
so?
Well, everybody was saying, "Oh my God, they have the other, like the 20th Century Fox, Quicksilver. This is gonna
Oh,
be
you
like
mean actual the character boner, like how
boner."
that whole
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, you're not just saying like an actual. You're getting a boner for WandaVision.
No, yeah. She looked real
I
cute.
mean,
as
she's
Lucille Ball.
attractive.
Yeah.
She's attractive. She's attractive. I get it,
But no, like, and we're all debating this stuff because, unlike streaming when it first started, you could just watch the whole show. Now they're spacing them out so they can keep subscribers longer. We're all debating like, oh, it's just like, opening for the X-Men because he's from the 20th Century Fox ones and blah, 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 and then no, he's some guy named Boner. They basically trolled the audience and just put a big middle finger up and said, fuck you, and laughed their asses off at all of us. Because there's no other reason than to name him Boner and have it go nowhere than to troll your own audience. And I really think them mentioning adamantium is to get people excited for something that will probably never come.
Are you saying that the adamantium was a giant cock tease? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, I don't think they have any plans to bring in the X-Men. I think they just went, hey, they know what that is.
Yeah, I mean, I also look at it in terms of like, based on the performance of this movie, they really don't have a choice anymore than to put the X-Men out. Because look at it this way: every person, their mother, who still follows this Marvel shit, is just sitting there waiting, going like, just please give me the fucking X-Men, just please, please, please. And every single time they don't. You got a little bit with it with Deadpool and Wolverine. That was it. But that they've yet to do that because they know they've got nothing else after that. What else do you got besides the X-Men?
That's true. Like, people forget that other than Hulk, like Captain America and Iron Man were not the A tier. They became because the movies were pretty entertaining and Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. are very good actors. But it really was a lot for the first one I'm going to mention. It was thankful to the animated series in the 90s, but the two big Marvel shooters were the X-Men and Spider-Man. And they didn't have either of them, so they had to try to create the B list, make them the stars, minus Hulk, Iron Man and Captain America and then also Black Widow and what's his name is there too?
Hawkeye.
Arrowface, yeah.
Arrowface.
No, I mean actually,
I'm not Green Arrow.
Yeah, I've read some Hawkeye comics. They're good, but I forgot his name for a second. But now they don't even have those characters anymore. Yeah, I feel that they almost have to put all of their eggs into the Fantastic Four bin. And you're right. It's like if you don't bring in Wolverine and Cyclops and Magneto and Beast and Mr. Sinister and all that, you're fucked.
Oh yeah, they're totally fucked. That's what I'm saying. Like they're cock teasing the Marvel fan base so bad that they're just like, just wait. We're gonna bring them. We're gonna bring them. We're not gonna tell you when it's gonna happen. We're not gonna tell you. We're gonna make little things, just putting it out there. If we just get you to Secret Wars, if we just get you there, then we'll be fine. But yeah, I think that once they shoot their X-Men load, they got nothing. They just they can call it off because like you even see them now bringing in characters that I'm just like, I don't know who the fuck this is. Like that one character they brought in this movie who had a little bit of controversy because I don't know, there's the kind of genocide still happening in the Middle East. But Ruth Bat-Seraff, who is like an IDF former agent, who they cut her completely out, nearly out of this film. She was Harrison Ford's like what the hell, like head of security. No. She was like the head of security. You know what I mean? So like but she's a superhero from the Marvel MCU. I didn't know that, but that's what I'm saying. They're just calling on like the D and C listers now. Like that's what I'm seeing. Like even the villains in this, like aside from Samuel Stearns, who plays the leader, but you've got Sidewinder, played by Gus Fring.
Yeah. And
which I'm like, okay, great.
And to be clear, Psychos Nation, like, I can't speak for Brian, although I'm pretty sure I know, like, I was a humongous comic book nerd growing up. I read, you know, anything I could get my hands on. I had my preferred heroes, but I could read anything I could get my hands on. But I can tell you right now, I didn't read Shang-Chi or the Eternals. I didn't read those comics. So I think that at one point, Marvel just thought to themselves, we're so popular, we can just mine any character that we have at our disposal and make a movie and it'll make $1 billion, which I call that like the Guardians of the Galaxy theory, because I had read very few Guardians comics. And I only know I read them because I didn't remember them when the movie came out. But I'm like, I looked at my comic collection when I was at my mom's house one time, and I'm like, oh, I have read some of these. I just didn't remember. But that movie was a success. So they went, oh, we can make any character now into a movie. And it's like, well, are you
let's
sure?
be honest here. This methodology dates back even further than the Guardians of the Galaxy. This dates back to Thor. I remember reading articles at the time in which, you know, Kevin Feige literally said, if Thor doesn't work, we're done. Like literally they said, if Thor is not popular, if it does not actually get people to the theater, then they kind of can't do much of anything, because this came right after, I believe it was Incredible Hulk, which didn't do well compared to, you know, Iron Man. And this, I think, was kind of the last one before they really geared up to do a lot of the core MCU stuff with Captain America and the Avengers and all that shit. But they literally said, like, if Thor doesn't work, then we're fucked. So fortunately it did work, but they're kind of now trying that methodology with just about every fucking character you can see. Now, sometimes it works. Like, I really did like Moon Knight. Not a whole lot of people did. I thought it was a good show.
Didn't watch it.
It's all right. I liked it for what it is. But I mean, I almost think like these C and D list characters are better suited for television than they are for big screen. Like, you know, that's just me though. So, moving along, I do want to talk a little bit about some of these characters in this movie. So I mentioned the plot is about adamantium, and, you know, as John mentioned at the top of the show, William Hurt is not in this movie because he is kind of sadly passed away. Instead steps in Indiana Jones, also known as Harrison Ford, doing his best angry old man, I don't want to be here performance.
I am really shocked that he agreed to this. I mean, I guess he just
money,
really
John.
Loves money. Yeah. Yeah, he loves money. And I know that I guess they figure that Anthony Mackie, which I don't know if that's true because I think he's very charismatic, is not going to put butts in seats. So they had to pay somebody an exorbitant amount of money who is a well-known and beloved name to replace William Hurt. But I thought putting Harrison Ford in there was just distracting. It would have been easier for me, I think, to deal with a casting change because their hands were tied. They didn't have any choice. That's what happens when somebody dies. But if it wasn't so, like, if it was somebody who wasn't as famous, maybe just some kind of like journeyman actor who kind of looked like William Hurt. But by putting Harrison Ford in here, I'm like, that's Indiana Jones.
Well, what was funny was when he turns to Red Hulk, I immediately thought, like, is Short Round going to show up? Because he kind of looked like a bloated red version of him from Temple of Doom when he's taking the Kali Ma and he's got he's acting like a villain. I'm like, oh my God. Short Round's going to come and hit him with a fire and he's going to he's going to snap out of it. Oh, shit. That would have been amazing.
Yeah.
Someone out there, please do that. Show me with AI Short Round fire poker to Red Hulk in the Temple of Doom. But I guess my problem with Harrison Ford being in this movie is that they pretty much gave away from the marketing that he's going to turn into Red Hulk. Like that was the biggest problem, is because the whole time I'm watching the film, John, I'm like, oh my God, he's gonna get angry. And if he gets angry, he's gonna blow the fuck up. And oh my God, look at him. He's getting stressed out. He's getting angry. He's taking pills. What's gonna happen? So like you already know he's gonna turn to Red Hulk. You gave it away in the trailer. You gave it away in all of the marketing for it.
I'm not surprised by that, because I think average Joe Schmo who didn't read hundreds of comic books growing up doesn't really know who Red Hulk is. They know what a Hulk is, but they don't know that character. They don't know that this character becomes Red Hulk.
But John, they can look at Red Hulk and see that it's a CGI version of Harrison Ford's face and
right,
put two and two together.
I'm saying they don't care. That I think that they thought if people know that there's a different Hulk in this movie and Captain America has to fight him, they're more likely to go to the theater to watch it than he's fighting some terrorists.
I think the problem for me is that if we compare that film to, say, Captain America Civil War, right? If we look at that movie, that trailer did not give away every aspect of the story. Clearly that the heroes are going to fight. You don't know what it's about. You know that Black Panther shows up, but you don't know that Zemo actually is trying to, come up with this cockamamie scheme of creating a bunch of getting super soldiers. And then it's revealed that, Bucky killed Tony Stark's mom and dad. Like, none of that is given away, so that when that moment does happen, you're like, holy shit. And I just think that had they held back on that from the trailer itself and maybe kept it more about the leader and more about maybe this, Sidewinder character, and maybe the big reveal was that, Harrison Ford becomes the Hulk, then that would make me kind of like give a shit about the story and be surprised and be engaged. But like the whole point is, like, the whole time watching, I'm like, okay, well, when's the Red Hulk going to show up? Why? Because I already know Harrison Ford's going to turn into it. Why? Because the trailer told me 2 months ago. So it just is a thing. And I know this is more of a commentary about modern Hollywood, but like, Jesus Christ, there's something to be said for obscuring some of the plot in your marketing. There's something to be said for that.
But that's also the issue with movies that don't really have that much stakes. I'm like, okay, there's going to be a conspiracy plot that Captain America is going to solve, and then he's going to have a big punch him out fight with a monster Hulk at the end of the movie, and he's going to win, and the movie's going to end with a yuck yuck. Like, I never thought there was going to be anything truly impactful here. This isn't going to be the end of The Dark Knight, like, say I killed him, the hero died, or whatever. Like, I'm like, wow, that's really a thoughtful ending to it. We were not going to get that with Captain America, and I think we all knew that.
No. And truth be told, like, there really are no major like stakes with this film.
It's a very, it's actually a very, I'm going to feel really weird saying this, but it's a very contained story in the sense of the bigger world building. I mean, as you mentioned, Brian, it's a sequel to like 7 movies.
Yeah.
So I feel kind of silly saying that, but the results of what happens in this movie seem fairly contained, but there are things that are left unfinished that some people might say, oh, well, that's because the stories never end, but it also can be called plot holes.
I call them just lazy writing. That's what I call it. I call it, we've got a giant, stone man in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and we kind of have to address it to some degree. And wouldn't it be cool if like the political intrigue shit kind of landed with the giant stone man in the middle of the ocean? And what could that be? Oh, maybe you can mine them. And then, oh, well, what happens? Well, the U.S., because the U.S. is going to be the U.S., is going to try to steal all of the minerals out of the giant stone man, and oh, maybe someone else. It felt very paint by numbers to a point. And just as you said, like this was a half measure in the MCU, right? Like no one 2 movies from now is going to reference what happens in this, other than it just being like a blink and you miss it. Hey, we just finished rebuilding the White House after that whole kooky Red Hulk thing. Oh, you didn't see Captain America Brave New World? Well, here's a shot of Red Hulk Harrison Ford jumping out of the White House. Like that's it. No one's going to give 2 shits about this movie in 2 years from this universe.
Yeah. And that's kind of a problem, but
that is a problem. It means the movie's disposable. That's what it means.
It's like eating a Cinnabon cinnamon roll. It was fine. It kind of gave you a little bit of a tummy ache, and you'll never think of it again. But you think about the plot holes in this movie. Like, I want you to start up the Avengers initiative again. Well, are you sure? Because you're the one that kind of helped destroy the Avengers. Went nowhere. I'm trying to think of a few of the other big plot. Oh, the villain just lets himself get captured so that he can just revel in what's going to happen with Red Hulk, but then it's just kind of abandoned. Plot hole. It would be
Can we
like
talk a minute about Samuel Stearns, because I think he is probably one of the dumbest or most naive villains in the MCU.
He's such a genius that he bases everything on statistical probability, but he's always wrong.
That's what I'm saying. Like, first of all, okay, yeah, you're a genius, but you're trusting a politician?
Yeah.
And you're angry because the politician lied to you?
He's like, kind of a dumbass, actually.
You're a dumbass. You literally, well, I'm angry that after I got mutated and have a gigantic fucking brain, that I'm angry that, I could not, that he would not let me go. It's like, but dude, he's a politician. He works for the government. What do you think he was going to do?
And if he's such a genius, couldn't he hatch an escape plan? Like Hannibal Lecter got out of his cage in Pittsburgh. So
yeah, he did, and he didn't have to be mutated by gamma radiation to do it. So yeah, I like the fact that they're going with a more cerebral villain. I like those kinds of villains more so than the Thanos style. But this one is dumb, and he also looks ugly as fucking sin. If you look at the comic books, he kind of looks like, as you said, John, Megamind.
Yeah.
He looks like Megamind.
He's Brainiac. Yeah.
He's Brainiac. Okay. And that's who the leader is. And the leader in the comic books is actually a pretty formidable villain. And they kind of make him out to be kind of a chump in this one, where he comes up with these elaborate plans. They don't really work. And I guess the one big thing is like, he did plan to kind of take out Sam Wilson without his Captain America gear on. It's like, okay, good job. You realize that he doesn't have the super soldier serum. So you're just going to shoot him in the middle of broad daylight?
Yeah, that's a thing too. That he doesn't have superpowers. The guy like jumps out of a plane and like lands on the fucking ground and is like, oh, his uniform has been riddled with vibranium. It's like, that's not how physics works. He's still gonna die when he lands, and like the Hulk is smashing him through walls. Like he's dead.
Okay. Here's the thing, though. When have any of these movies obeyed the laws of physics?
Yeah, Black Widow was pretty bad. Because like
I'm just saying, when have any of them ever said, now is the time we're going to obey the laws of physics? Secondly, no one, and I'm blaming your fiance for this one, because she sent me a reel about this last night. No joke. She sent it to me roughly around midnight. No one says shit when Batman is going up against Superman and gets his ass kicked.
I mean, I did. That movie was terrible.
But I know you did. But I'm just saying, and I'll be one of those ones too that says like, oh yeah, Batman, he could take Superman. Let's be honest here. If Superman flicks his finger, Batman's dead. Okay, but we still root for Batman. So like I have to approach this movie in the same light. Sam Wilson is not a super powered being, yet he still takes on super powered beings. Should he be dead? Yeah, but so should Tony Stark.
Yeah.
Okay.
But,
and so should Black Widow, and so should Hawkeye. But they're not dead.
and that's
And if anything, I would say Sam Wilson has more survivability in his corner than Tony Stark does, because Sam Wilson was trained in the Army, in the Air Force.
But doesn't this kind of make the film kind of feel like John Wick or one of the Bourne Identity movies? Because he's just like a super skilled soldier. Like he doesn't have any powers. He's just a guy in a costume. And I know so is Batman, but that's what's unique about Batman. That was kind of his whole thing. It's that like he just is a guy.
And here's the thing. That's what this movie does try to push. Like there is a scene where surprise, future House Representative Bucky Buchanan Barnes shows up, reshoots, and basically tries to talk Sam off of a cliff because he's feeling bad about himself, because we have to have a moment in the movie where the hero doubts himself.
The all is lost moment.
The all is lost moment, and every Marvel movie does this. But yeah, he has that moment where he's sitting in the hospital because new Hawkeye, I forget his name,
Guy.
New Hawkeye is kind of, not Hawkeye, Jesus Christ, Falcon. New Falcon, whatever, disposable superhero number one. He's kind of, sitting in the hospital, and yeah, Sam is feeling bad about himself because he wishes he took the super soldier serum, even though we're like, okay, sorry, you never had the super soldier serum. You never said that when you were Falcon. But yeah, he has that moment, and Bucky's like, you don't understand. Steve was strong, but people want to aspire to be you. It's like, I'm pretty sure people wanted to aspire to be Captain America too, like Steve Rogers, and I'm pretty sure they wanted to aspire to be Tony Stark. And
yeah, Tony didn't have any powers.
Tony didn't have any powers. He was just fucking rich. So, and a genius. But yeah, like they do push that whole people aspire to be Sam because he is, a normie.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I think that's like a backhanded compliment.
Yeah. Yeah, you're no great Chase. You're just an asshole.
You're just listen, he gave you that shield because I was busy doing other shit.
I'm unreliable. I've been brainwashed 1,000 times.
Yeah. Let's be honest here. There's no one else. Hulk's not gonna want it. Look at his hand. Tony's dead. Black Widow's dead. Hawkeye doesn't want this. He's still coming off of his old Ronin persona. And yeah, you're kind of the last one. We're not giving it to Ant-Man.
Spider-Man can't hold it. He's got little weak arms.
Spider-Man he hasn't even taken his SATs yet. Okay. So yeah, it's like, sorry, Sam, you're the last one. So it kind of feels like a backhanded compliment, that whole conversation. But like, I won't shit on Sam Wilson as Captain America because, again, I root for Batman, and Batman has no powers. And there have been many times that Batman has taken on super powered villains and won, and no one bats an eye. So I'm not going to bat an eye seeing Sam Wilson do it. But I do find it funny that in the universe of the movie, that whole concept comes up. Just stupid. And speaking of stupid, let's talk about the ending of this movie. So yeah, Red Hulk, Harrison Ford, loses his shit and just decides to trash all of Washington in a battle with the Captain America. John, what were your thoughts on this?
I mean, that's kind of a problem with the Hulk is such an important character. I'll say concept, because this isn't the Hulk. This isn't the Jolly Green Giant Hulk, but for it to just be kind of a disposable 20-minute fight scene, I thought well, wait, that just seemed kind of dismissive, and for it to be like, hey, remember your daughter? And it's just like, and he sees like one of the cherry blossoms and he goes, yeah, you're right, my bad, I'm kind of an asshole.
We're forgetting
like,
he gets stabbed and blown up too. Like there is that too.
yeah,
He gets stabbed and blown up multiple times.
yeah, just for that, just to be like this kind of throwaway main event villain, I don't know. It seems kind of insulting. I don't know.
I felt that again, it made no sense to me to throw him in this movie if you're just going to use him for the last 20 minutes, and ultimately, like he again, just you say, it's just kind of a throwaway. He's not going to die because it's Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Although, to be fair, Harrison Ford does kill himself in a lot of his movies more recently.
And I was going to say, I could understand if they actually killed him off in the sense that you replaced one actor who died with another actor in his mid 80s. Like, maybe you should have killed him off, because even if you convince Harrison Ford to do another one of these, in 5 years, he might not be alive. I mean, I hope that's not the case, but it could happen.
Yeah. I mean, at the rate that actors are dropping like flies, we're recording this literally the day that Gene Hackman and his wife passed away, and a day after Michelle Trachtenberg, I hope I pronounced that right.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it did, passed away. So it's like, guard your actors, or what did you say, John? They come in threes?
Yep.
Okay, so we're due for one more is what you're saying.
Yeah, we'll see who's next. Tom Selleck. You're on the chopping block.
Oh,
Chachi,
shit.
you're on the chopping block.
Oh, shit. Well, Harrison Ford ends up in the raft, so we'll never see him again. It's like that's what's gonna happen.
Well, it's the throw Samoa Joe in a trunk, kidnap him, and figure out the plot later, which is a TNA wrestling reference.
I was waiting for you to throw a wrestling reference in.
They had a wrestler. They threw him in a trunk. He was kidnapped by masked men, and it was like one of those. They didn't have any idea where they were going with it, and they're like, "Well, he needs some time off. When he comes back, we'll figure out what the fuck the plot was." And I think it's kind of like, put him in a jail cell so that if we want, we can bring him back.
Well, he was supposed to be in Thunderbolts, hence kind of like the name of the movie.
Yeah,
being Thunderbolts.
Do you think
like
that's
after
where
Thunderbolt Ross?
Do you think that's where the whole like, I want to bring the Avengers back, but it kind of goes nowhere? Do you think it's because they're going to start the initiative for his own Avengers? But at the same time, he's a guy who like terrorized our nation's capital.
I mean, I don't see. First of all, I don't know why the hell they called it that now, knowing that he's not in the movie.
Yeah.
Again, like he was supposed to be in both films. But he chose to only do this one. Don't know why. I think he did get injured while he was producing this film. While he was in this film.
He's a brittle old man.
Yeah, because that's what happens. When you get older, you're more susceptible to injury. So I think he was going to be in both, but they just kind of kept it. And I don't know how they're gonna weave that one in this. I really don't, because it is supposed to be, I believe in the comic books that he does create his own Avengers called the Thunderbolts, and they're all villains, kind of like the Legion of Doom,
kind of like DC. The Suicide Squad,
kind of like the Suicide Squad. So yeah, I don't know how the hell they're gonna do that. Yeah, I don't know, but I do want to get badly.
Yeah.
John, you had a very good post on Facebook today. You had this sad face. I want to link to this in the show notes here. You're sad because you got to make that thing public. You got to make it not just friends only. Of a sad face in front of the Thunderbolts poster. And I commented. I told John, I'm like, you look like Florence Pugh in the poster. Like you literally have the same face.
Annoyed, upset,
annoyed that you're there.
Yeah,
but you're not annoyed at the money. Not at all. So I do want to get to some reviews. Now,
nice.
I tried to be fair and find a mix of both, but I have a feeling that, John, you're going to look at these reviews and you're going to be like, these kind of aren't very positive, even though they are quote unquote positive reviews, which kind of speaks volumes about the movie.
Okay, I'm in.
Okay, so let's look at our first one. I think this one actually is a shit one. So this one is actually a professional review. So this is from Jackie K. Cooper of JackieKCooper.com. He's from Rotten Tomatoes. And he says, you can't assume the audience has seen all movies related to this one. 4 out of 10.
I think
I agree.
Marvel thinks that, yeah, you better have seen everything. Good. I think that's the entire marketing campaign of this entire franchise. And I don't, when I say franchise, I don't mean Captain America. I mean the MCU.
The MCU, yeah.
Is that, oh, you better not miss one, even if you're not overly interested, or else you won't know what's going on. You have to buy a ticket. Got to buy. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like I used to be someone who would kind of run to every Marvel MCU property, whether it be on TV or in movies. And honestly, like I don't have the bandwidth anymore. I don't really care. I think the last one that I really gave two shits about was the Hawkeye one. And then like they announced that they were doing Echo, and I'm like, who the fuck cares about Echo? Why do we give two shits? And then they had Werewolf by Midnight, and I'm like, I don't. Who cares about that? Like, what is the need for that? Like, and I know people are like, oh, well, if you don't watch this, you don't watch the Werewolf one, you won't get the Blade reference. I'm like, first of all, they're not making a fucking Blade movie now, okay? Like they've pushed that one off for so long that we're just we're not going to get it anytime soon.
We'll get it when we get the Gambit movie.
Yeah, you'll get it when they get the Gambit movie. That's it. So, but I just don't give two shits anymore. I think the only one that I'm actually giving two shits about and caring about is Daredevil Born Again. And why is that? Because I was a fan of the Daredevil Netflix series that is no longer quote unquote canon.
And that's one of the best graphic novels, written.
Damn right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is very much as you called it perfectly. It's like a drug, and if you don't take it, you miss out. So there is that. All right, let's go to review number 2. This is from Victor Lopez G of E Spinoff. I believe that's how you say it. Okay. Again, another shit, rotten review here. The film, directed by Julius Onah, is the worst it could have been. One that is neither good nor bad, and that quite simply just exists.
I think that's what the long and short of what we've been saying.
That is literally what we've said.
Yeah. I'm not going to remember this in a couple of weeks. I believe
the best line that can really speak to this, it's from Gangs of New York. Great film. And it is when Bill the Butcher is talking to the Tammany Hall like guy, and he's telling him that you are neither hot nor cold, you are lukewarm, so I shall spit you out. And that is this movie to a T. It's not terrible. It's not really good either. And it's just kind of like, okay.
It's like we said 1,000 times now. It's disposable.
Yeah. No, I mean, I saw that one. And I'm like, oh yeah, that speaks volumes to this. All right, review number 3. This one's a fresh one. It's from Sarah G. Vincent Views. If Captain America Brave New World is flawed, it is not Mackey's fault. His take on Captain America without the secret sauce is reminiscent of Tony Stark in Iron Man 3 2013. Half right.
I couldn't agree with her more. This is not on Anthony Mackie.
I said half right, but yes.
Yeah.
Speak to that about Anthony Mackie.
Yeah. Here's another saying in wrestling is that when you judge a storyline or where a character's going, you say, I'm not judging the wrestler. He didn't write this. This isn't his booking. You're judging the people who are writing it, producing it, booking it. So it's not Anthony Mackie's fault the script isn't all that great, that there's nothing overly memorable in it. He is giving it his all. It's just not there on the page, in the lens, or in the edit booth, but that has nothing to do with him.
Bingo. Bingo. I like Anthony Mackie a lot as an actor. I think he is doing the best he can with a bad situation. That is what I think he is doing. I don't know what the production of this film was like, but from what I'm seeing, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look like a train wreck, but it doesn't look good either. And I worry that people will shit all over Anthony Mackie and make it his fault. And I don't think that's fair. Sometimes actors get presented with shit films. Look at Hayden Christensen. The whole I don't like sand stuff, that was because of George Lucas's shit writing and his shit directing.
Yeah, there's nobody that's delivering that line well.
No one's delivering that line well. And it's also like, if you see him in other things, he's actually a pretty good actor. So, you know, I worry that people will blame Anthony Mackie for this because it is not his fault. But I disagree with this reviewer's take that this is Iron Man 3. That shows me a lack of understanding of what makes Iron Man 3 Iron Man 3. Which I still
like Iron Man 3 more than 2, but anyways.
I like Iron Man 2, but I think Iron Man 3, the reason why that movie works is because it is more personal. It's more of an internal story rather than one about things going blow up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's about, you know, is Tony Stark really the hero that he is, or is he just a hero because he has a, you know, biomechanical suit?
Has a big old technical brain.
Yeah. It's because he is Iron Man. Like that's different take on this. So I know people didn't like Iron Man 3 when it came out. There was some weird shit with that one too. Like, you know, the whole I am the Mandarin thing.
Well, and Shane Black's Christmas fetish.
Shane Black's Christmas fetish. So there are some problems, just like there are problems in this one, but I don't put them in the same boat. I think they're two very different movies. And it's also a thing where, honestly, historically, the third movie, or in this case, the fourth movie in Captain America series, is never the stronger film. It's never going to be the stronger film.
Well, Brian, off of that review, let me ask you a question real quick.
Yeah.
I'm going to get like kind of deep here, and I do apologize. This is a question from one white man to another white man. But how much do you think that people are going to put this on Anthony Mackie? Like, what percentage is just because they're either openly or closetedly racist?
I don't want to think that sort of thing comes into play when judging a fictional movie about comic book superheroes. But unfortunately, we are kind of, you know, looking at everything through those lenses nowadays. So while I don't think people are outright going ahead and say, like, I'm not going to watch this because Anthony Mackie is not a blonde-haired, blue-eyed Captain America, I think some people will because of their own political biases and their own racial biases, but they aren't going to outright say it. I don't think they will. But what percentage do I think? I don't know, maybe like 10 to 15%.
That's fair. You know, I mean, even somebody like an interviewer asked like Harrison Ford, like on a red carpet, like, you know, how does it feel to play this role next to the first Black Captain America? And he said he's not Black Captain America, he's Captain America.
That's a problem. That is a problem right there. And I think that's something that I think people try to be like, oh yes, I'm progressive because I'm saying, oh, it's a Black Captain America. It's like, no. Why can't we just say that he is Captain America?
Yeah. Because
he is. At this point, he is. Like, Steve Rogers isn't coming back.
Like, I don't know if there's like if it's a beautiful thing or an ignorant thing. Like for me, during Endgame, the scene where all the women kind of team up together.
Yeah.
And a lot of people went, oh, look, they're virtue signaling. They put all the ladies together. When I saw the movie, I didn't see it that it was all the women. I saw it as a bunch of characters. And I don't know if that makes me like, if that's a beautiful thing on my end or an ignorant thing on my end. I don't know. But yeah, I don't see him as Black Captain America. I just see him as a guy from the movies who's now Captain America.
Well, I think part of it, John, is that how we take in what it means for Anthony Mackie, an African American man, to play Captain America. You and I will never understand
Right.
what that means.
Yeah.
Just like you and I will never understand what it means, even though this is something that we've both said we don't like this movie, but we'll never understand what it means to have female Ghostbusters. You and I will never get it. Okay. My daughter might understand what that means because traditionally that particular franchise was geared towards men. And I imagine that someone who looks at all of the superheroes and goes, wow, none of them look like me, seeing Anthony Mackie as Captain America probably means a lot to them. So in this case, like, I would never want to take that away from them. It doesn't infringe anything on me or anything on the fandom if that's the case. But I also think that you don't need to call out like, oh, yes, this is a particular type of Captain America. Just say it's fucking Captain America. I agree with Harrison Ford on that. It's fucking Captain America.
Yeah, it's kind of shocking and upsetting that we live in a world where, like, people need to virtue signal.
Yeah,
that. It's sad that we have to do that, or the people feel the need to do that because we're still so far from where we need to be.
Yeah, the better thing they would say be like, what is it like to play with be in a movie with Captain America?
Yeah,
that's it. That's literally it. And then what it means to someone who sees themselves in that character, that can be for them. But that's it's almost like, how can I get points in my progressive bingo card? And that does, as someone who is a progressive, and John, I think you're in the same boat as me, that does not help us.
Yeah.
It doesn't help the cause. Okay, it doesn't.
It reminds me of that Key and Peele sketch where, like, they're just sitting at a bar and this, like, drunk white woman's like, estimate, like, 15 years ago, you guys wouldn't even be allowed on her. You're like, yeah, the year 2000. Yeah, no, I think we would have. Like, I know that you're trying to be a good white, but, like, just take it easy, leave us alone.
Yeah. All right, let's get to, I think we're on review number 4 now. Our last one.
Is it 4?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, okay.
I did it. Yeah, I did that one.
Yeah.
All right. Review number 4. A solid, if unspectacular, superhero movie with a couple of decent action sequences and better CGI than other recent MCU films. Ugh.
Okay. I'm 50-50 on this one. I'm 50. Okay, my 50% is, yeah, I agree. The action sequences are good, but for $200 million, they better be shot and
oh,
edited
dude,
well.
this was $400 million. This wasn't $200 million.
How do they expect these movies to make any money?
$100 million.
So let's put this into context. So you got 400 million. Let's just say it's not even this level, but let's just say 50-50 on the tickets that go between the theater and the studio. So right out the gate, if you don't even count promotion, this movie has to make 800 million to break even. Now we have promotion, which is probably another 150 million, and that's low on promotion. So this thing, it's $1 billion or bust, and this thing isn't making $1 billion. Are they out of their fucking minds?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
I think that they have made these movies so expensive, and they are expecting that audiences rush to the theater. I think they believe that every Marvel film that comes out is worthy of Avengers Endgame level of excitement and ticket sales.
Which is so fucking stupid.
Fucking stupid. Because let's be honest here, John, that was pre-COVID-19.
Yeah. And let's compare this to another comic book characters, not in Marvel, but like the Ninja Turtles. Amazingly, with how popular the cartoon was and all the toys they were selling, they thought, well, there's no way that the movie could make money. So they had people who believed in it, but only like 15 million or 10 million or less money to make it. And it blows up and it's a huge success because thankfully they had talented people working on it, but they kept the budget so low, which can the worst thing and the best thing you can have in a movie is the worst thing you can have is no money or the best. No, okay, there's two worse. I'm gonna get this out. I swear to God.
It's late, John.
Yeah. The only thing worse than not having enough money is having too much money.
Oh, I agree.
And that was the Ninja Turtles film in 1990 was the highest grossing independent film of all time when it came out, only to be surpassed by Blair Witch. And it's because it was lightning in a bottle. They didn't need $400 million to make a Ninja Turtle movie. Like this movie and like Indiana Jones, not to pick on Harrison Ford over here, Indiana Jones 5, but like they don't need to be spending all this money. But to go back to the other part of that, I'm sorry, but as usual, because I know how Hollywood works and they offer to whatever special effects company will contract for the least amount of money and the quickest amount of turnaround time is the one that they give the contract to for the CGI in these movies. Is that Red Hulk looks like shit.
Yeah, he does kind of look like shit.
And
look like shit.
I'm not taking anything away from these hardworking CGI artists. They're great artists. They bust their ass, but they had to probably do it with not enough time and not enough assets, and they had to rush it out to Marvel. And when you don't have enough time to do something correctly, it's not gonna be good.
Oh, it's always gonna suck. It's always gonna suck. And this is again a reason why I'm gonna get on my soapbox here. This is a reason why the VFX and CGI industry needs to be unionized. Mm-hmm. Artists have to be unionized. They have to change how these programs are done. And if it's a thing where maybe we don't get a brand new one out every motherfucking quarter, then maybe we don't do that. It used to be that you had to wait like 3 to 4 years before a movie from a franchise would come out. Remember that? Remember those days? 3 to 4 years, and now it's like, no, 2 years, 2 years and a TV show. Don't worry.
Well, I know that like the Marvel Cinematic Universe has a variety of characters, so it's not a matter of only one a year, but like, there was a point where getting one every quarter.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, like 3.5, 4 months go by, another Marvel movie.
Another one. Yeah. And I mean, this year they are ramping up from kind of a pause from last year, but I mean, it's a thing where I don't think the VFX and CGI were as terrible as, say, Ant-Man Quantumania, which we talked about how bad that was. But I mean, they're not great. They're video game level at best.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I'm like, look at Red Hulk. I'm like, he looks like he's from a video game.
And it's not like back in the day, like, we can laugh all we want now at like the Agent Smith fight from the second Matrix movie because it looks like a PS2 cutscene.
Because it is.
But the Wachowskis were trying to do things that the technology just wasn't there yet for. The technology is there now. They're just being cheap.
You want to know the perfect example of how I know that the technology is there and that they are being cheap? Do you want to know how I know?
Yes.
Okay. So go look at the transformation scene of Edward Norton in The Incredible Hulk. Go look at that scene. And it's when he's in the lab and he's being bolted down and he's going like through his... When you see that transformation scene, that is done more artfully than this one is. Like, you're seeing veins pop, you're seeing like his physical structures of his body just break and reform, and it's done in a very visceral looking way that's not pretty. I'm telling you that right now, but it definitely looks like it took a bit more time. This, it's like his hand inflates.
Yeah.
like his hand inflates and turns red.
And his calf muscle. Yeah.
And his calf muscle inflates. and that's it.
And can somebody please explain to me why turning into the Hulk dyes your hair?
Oh, because you can't have a gray-haired Hulk.
Hulk, no, yeah. No way.
It dyes your hair, makes your dick giant, you know, like it's like Viagra.
This movie would have been my favorite movie of all time if this Hulk didn't keep his pants. And while he's fighting Captain America, his massive dong is just knocking, Cap around. So it's hitting the Washington Monument, taking off like chunks of of the building. Yeah.
Oh God, that's horrible. I love how we save like the vulgar shit for the right at the end of the episode.
Hey, this is for the true fans. If you stayed this long, you like us. So
that's true.
You're used to it. But like how dogs like just get excited and they get red rocket. Like just imagine just Red Hulk just had like a big red rocket just sticking up in the air. Just like all the excitement got him just hard. And it's like, I can't fight you because I can't get around your dick.
Let's be honest here, John. The pills that Harrison Ford was taking throughout the movie were gamma radiation Viagra.
Blue Chew.
Let's be honest here. It was Blue Chew. It was Red Chew. That's what it was. Red Chew.
Yeah. Not only will give you a boner, but it'll turn you into a giant muscular monster.
Yeah. He's like, I'm the president now. I have to be tip top shape at all time, even when I'm having sex. So, Samuel Stearns gave me this new version of Viagra. I said I had a heart condition. Bullshit. No, you just wanted a monster dong, and now you are a monster with a dong. Oh, shit. Well, good talk, John. I think we talked Captain America Brave New World Death, and we'll forget this movie ever existed in like a week.
Yeah, and I think that this is my closing
remarks
to the jury.
Closing remark.
Yeah, is that I think that's what people are more offended by. I think people would have been happier with a just plain bad movie. I think what they're so offended by is that this is just a soulless, creativeless bunch of action sequences. And I think as we said at the top of the show, it's not terrible, but it's not good either. I think people are more offended by that than if the movie was just a complete and total disaster, like Madam Web. But they didn't get that. Yeah. They just got something that's just fucking forgettable. And that's more depressing than anything. I always say, give me a movie that's good or give me a movie that's bad. I don't want something that's just forgettable. That's the lamest.
Yeah. Yeah, that really is the lamest. I mean, at least with a bad movie, you can have fun with a bad movie. I mean, Jesus Christ, we've talked about Megalopolis like 1,000 times since we saw it, right? Like I've talked to people and they even are bringing up Megalopolis. So it's like, that's a terrible fucking movie, Yeah. But
Brian, I'll
still said something.
Yeah. I'll say this. I would rather watch Madam Web or Catwoman than watch this Captain America movie.
Oh, I think is probably the worst shade thrown.
Yeah, I mean,
this movie.
Give me some brewskis and some friends to like pop jokes at it. I'll be much happier than the same group of friends could be in the same room watching Captain America just all bored.
Well, that's the thing is like if we did a movie night at your house and we were watching Captain America Brave New World, we'd be like, oh yeah, look, he's battling, some F-16 planes in the air. That's cool.
We didn't even talk about that.
No, we didn't even talk about that because honestly, it's forgettable, as you said. Yeah, he's battling F-16s in the air. That's cool. Yeah, that's neat. That's a thing there that he's doing and trying to save those minerals for the United States because we need that. That's the thing.
Where if it was Catwoman, it's like, oh look, she's humping Benjamin Bratt on a basketball court in front of kids.
Yes,
this is awesome.
Or it's like, I wonder if Catwoman's gonna take a shit in a cat box because she might.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Well, that's my thoughts. Really, John, kind of echo a lot of what you said. I really believe that the MCU is kind of dropping the ball when it comes to these sort of movies with these characters who are not obviously the core Avengers. And I don't know how this gets remedied. I really don't. I really think that they got to pull the X-Men card while they can and then just maybe close out this thing. Like that's my thought. It's like if X-Men doesn't save you, then nothing will, and you're pretty much better off just closing out the MCU.
Well, I mean, they won't. They'll just they'll reboot, right? Give it 5 years, reboot. Get all the characters again, maybe in different orders. Maybe the Fantastic Four will start at this time, and the X-Men will be there at the same time as Cap and Thor and Hulk and everything. Now they got Spider-Man to kind of sort of maybe. So yeah, I wonder if it'll get to the point where they just say these movies are too expensive, they're not making enough money. Let's just take a 5-year break and or less and just reboot this whole motherfucker. Just start it again for another 20 years.
Yeah, I mean they could do that. They could pull a Batman. Could pull Batman, Superman. I mean that's literally what the DC films are doing, right? They are literally doing that right now.
They kind of
completely ignoring. Well, yeah, they've done it twice. But
Batman and Robin, I mean, that's not the whole DC, but they were like,
right,
the Batman's their cash cow, and they went, oh, we fucked up. Let's take a couple of years off and get a gritty reboot. And
yeah. So I mean, I think if X-Men doesn't save him, then yeah, they're gonna have to do something. But I'm basically just concerned now with Daredevil Born Again. That's where my head's at, because again, I like that character. I like they brought back a lot of people from the Netflix series. So I'll be curious to see how that works. But it's a shame that Anthony Mackie, who is again a great actor, was in just a piss poor, boring ass film. Yeah. Well, with that said, John, where can they find you at on the internet?
This will probably be out after the Oscars, but I'm just going to mention it anyways. Outside of Facebook and Instagram, you can find me over at JDubs Video Nasties. You don't have to see this before the Oscars, but I'm going to try my damnedest before this Sunday to get out my Oscar pick. So I'm going to tell you from the major categories, everybody that I agree with, and everybody that I would have added to each category. Not that the Oscars really matter. How do you really judge art and film? But it's just kind of fun to kind of do instead of fantasy football, I'm doing fantasy Oscars. And I will be trying to get out at my 3-minute review of The Monkey, the new Osgood Perkins film. I'm going to actually start trying to review new releases when they come out. I'll see if I have the bandwidth to do this. It might be a 2-month thing and I give it up out of exhaustion, but I'm going to start to try, and try to keep them slow or short. And also, before I get to the Men in Black video, I am going to try to give my best films of the year by category as well. So it's kind of an addition to our episode of the Cinema Psycho Show here, which I will have the link in the show notes for that. So those are the 3 I guess I call them mini episodes that I'm looking at, and once I have all that in the can, I'm gonna continue focusing on my So Many Questions Men in Black.
Nice. A lot of stuff coming your way, right? A lot of stuff that you're doing. That's cool. You're doing the mini episodes too, and are you doing kind of like the out of the theater reaction type deal?
A little bit of that. So these mini ones I'm talking about, it's all going to be voiceover. I'm not going to be filming myself, just going to be recording with a field recorder, my takes on it, and just using the B-roll of trailers and things like that, and title cards. And I'm hoping that that'll allow me to get these out fairly quickly.
Watch out for those copyright strikes, man. They go after those things. So that's
what I've learned is if you use the trailers to newer movies, they usually let that slide instead of actual clips.
Fair enough. Well, I look forward to seeing them, and I definitely look forward to seeing the Men in Black episode. But with that said, if you have loved this episode, do me a favor and follow us on your favorite podcast platforms. You see the little button there at the bottom there. Follow us at cinemapsychoshow.com/follow. You can click that link right there and go follow us on your favorite podcast platform of choice. Or if you are watching us here on YouTube, hey, do me a favor and hit the follow button or subscribe button on here. Yeah, it's subscribe. Hit the like button, hit the notification bell, because those things really do help the algorithm. I've been doing kind of these lives in kind of more recent take. I don't know how long we're going to be doing these lives, but it's kind of more or less an experiment. But if you follow us on YouTube and you like the channel, you'll get notified about when these episodes do go out. So with that said, we will see you next time.
I'm excited for Red Hawk or Red. I'm blowing this already. Blah, blah, blah. I'm excited for keep it in Red Hulk and Wanda. Black. No, not Black. Okay, this is just. You know what? I'm gonna stop right now. Actually, Brian, keep this in. An utter disaster.